Well, hello, folks. We're glad to be here with you today on the Hymn of the Week. This is a production of Bakerview MB Church, and this is episode number 3. So, my name is Kerry Dyck. I'm on staff at Bakerview, and so is Pastor Harry here with me this morning. And he's going to be leading us into his choice of the Hymn of the Week and sharing a few comments about it. So, Harry, why don't you take it away?
Well, I've chosen that very familiar and popular hymn, Amazing Grace.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I remember it used to be on top of the charts in the 60s and 70s during the era of folk music.
Okay.
It's been translated into almost every language and is sung in almost every country in the world. It is said that it is the most played, sung, and recorded hymn of the last 2 centuries.
Wow.
Written in 1772 by John Newton, it was popularized during the Great Awakening by people like D.L. Moody. It was sung by slaves in that epic novel, Uncle Tom's Cabin. It's been sung in almost every crisis situation since. People have turned to this hymn for comfort and strength. It was sung at 9/11. More recently, we heard it played by pipers on the street corners of Nova Scotia after the tragic death of 22 people. And we heard it played also by Abigail Cobrow on the deck of her ship. And a week later, she was the victim of an horrific helicopter accident off of Greece. So it's recent and it's historic. But that's not the only reason I choose this hymn. It's also John Newton's spiritual autobiography, written entirely in the first person. It's about him, but it's also about everyone. He drew on passages from the Gospels, for example, like the passage of the prodigal son. I once was lost, but now am found, the words of the Father. And also draws on the words of the blind man who was healed. I once was blind, but now I see.
Yeah.
It's his story. He says, amazing grace. The amazing grace is always the outflow of God's great love toward us.
Yeah.
He says, amazing grace that saved a wretch. And he self-defined that wretch, saying he had been profane, godless, and a blasphemer, among the worst of them. But God's grace reached out to him too and saved him. Saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see. His conversion took place in a storm in the North Atlantic. He was a sea captain, as his father was, captain of the Greyhound ship, was caught in a vicious storm in the North Atlantic. And on the 11th day, when all hope was gone, his sails torn, his ship floundering, he cried out to God for mercy. And God heard his cry. And 3 days later, his floundering ship with starving crew drifted into a harbor in Ireland. He wrote the song some years later as a pastor. He would often write a song for his sermon. And so it was in 1772, he wrote the song. After his slavery trading experience, he became a well-loved pastor. He became an abolitionist who campaigned for the freedom of slaves in Britain. He became a mentor to William Wilberforce, who navigated the Anti-Slave Act through the British Parliament. It passed in 1807, a few days before the death of John Newton. So we listen carefully to these words. They're very simple. Of the 150 words in the song, only 21 have more than 2 syllables. It's profoundly simple. And yet, with this powerful message of God's grace.
Well, thanks, Harry. That was very informative and interesting. You have a passage of the week that you want to share with us today?
Yeah, it comes out of the experience of John Newton, and it's Psalm 130.
Okay.
Out of the depths I cry to you, O Lord. O Lord, hear my voice. Let your ears be attentive to my cry for mercy. If you, O Lord, kept record of sins, O Lord, who could stand? But with you there is forgiveness. Therefore you are feared. I wait for the Lord, my soul waits, and in his word I put my hope. My soul waits for the Lord more than the watchman waits for the morning, more than the watchman waits for the morning. O Israel, put your hope in the Lord. For with the Lord is unfailing love, and with him is full redemption. He himself will redeem Israel from all their sins. Now we'll hear the singing of Amazing Grace, or the song Amazing Grace, as played by Heather and Calvin Dyck.